I have a triple lip implant and two eyebrows on the side.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm rolling actually.
Okay.
Being in bed with my baby. Not my actual baby, I haven't given birth yet, but I'm working on it.
Money, friends, family, lovers, all just to be sufficient.
Self-sufficiency.
Just like kind of living like out in the country and having your chickens and it all being really lovely and beautiful with your little alga and everything. But probably I'll get really bored if that happened.
Lazing by some water somewhere with some friends, drinks, no prospective responsibilities for a few days, and having a fun.
I don't think there is perfect happiness. I think there is a concept of happiness. There's happy moments, and I think that I've had many happy moments, but perfect happiness, it doesn't really exist.
Perfect happiness doesn't exist.
I don't believe there is such a thing as perfect happiness, because each day something else will arise that will make you be happier than the time before.
My greatest fear is that at some point the party might actually stop.
When I was younger, I used to be surviving a nuclear war.
My greatest fear is that I cannot move anymore and that I'm very ill.
I would slip into non-existence without anybody noticing.
Loneliness. I have no one to turn to in cases of misery or despair.
Being alone, I suppose. Being alone.
Being lonely.
Maybe loneliness.
Being a dad.
My greatest fear is to be mentally or physically disabled, especially if it involved my cock.
My greatest fear would probably be being left in a room full of spiders.
I don't really fear things like that. I mean, the world is full of big scary monsters and so on, but I'm pretty aware of them. My best friend, George, if only because he does what I can't do. He's got an incredible amount of energy, and he'll walk into a room and whereas I'll be quiet and watch and one-on-one, he throws himself around the room, and well, I miss it because he moved away, and I could go out with George and he'd make me be sociable and nice, and I'd make friends that way, and he basically makes me sociable, and yeah, he's probably the person I most admire in the world, definitely.
My mother.
My mum.
My mother.
My godmother.
The Dalai Lama.
Possibly my brother. I always admired my brother because he's very focused and very strong and very open-minded, and I'm quite proud of him.
Myself, because you can't admire anyone else until you can find those things to admire in yourself. I would say that would have to be myself again, because you have to be able to see those things you despise within yourself first.
Nelson Mandela, he's like a saint who, everyone he's a little deity, and yes, but he didn't use his popularity on HIV/AIDS and stuff. He was silent throughout, and he would basically allowed tens of thousands of South Africans to die by keeping his mouth shut because he wouldn't give them the fucking drugs. And no, he's the person I most despise at this moment. I do have a list, and it's coming out in CD-ROM.
I don't particularly like John Howard, the ex-Prime Minister of Australia.
I don't think I despise anybody.
I don't despise anybody, I'm not that kind of person.
I don't think I despise anybody.
I I don't despise anyone, I just despise stupid people.
Religious people I despise, and I think they're abominations. And so the Pope would be top of the list.
My uncle, he's quite, he just manages to make everybody upset. It's quite spiteful.
I don't know, I have this horrible habit of, like, understanding everyone's background for what they do, or at least, I don't know, so I don't really despise them. I'm more like, kind of think it's sad that some people are the way they are. I mean...
Leonardo.
Napoleon.
I find a lot of similarities between me and Marcel Proust, I think.
History's over. I don't identify with anybody.
Quentin Crisper. It's kind of like just right there, written all over me with a marker pen.
In terms of identifying with somebody, nobody. There's people that I admire, but nobody I identify with.
I instantly think of Richard James Edwards from the Manic Street Preachers, but no one really knows if he's like alive or dead.
I'd probably have to say two people, and that's Maria Callas and Emma Calvé, both opera singers.
It was Hitler.
Probably say Hitler as well.
Benito Mussolini.
Joseph Stalin.
Maybe Adolf Hitler.
Like, even though Stalin and Lenin maybe killed more people, what made Hitler more scary is not that he was more evil, it's that the people fucking gave him the power.
I think the physicists who did the atomic bomb are probably quite stupid because they thought they were doing something very clever. And all engineers, really, who engineer armaments, who forget that although they're being very clever, they're being clever to kill people, and that's not that clever at all.
Yeah, I think to despise someone, you have to know them.
Jealousy.
Being impulsive.
Indecisiveness.
Self-indulgence.
My lack of confidence, sometimes.
My selfishness, it always gets me into trouble.
Oh, susceptibility to addiction, that's it.
I talk too much and don't know when to stop talking.
I think that I still lose my temper sometimes when I don't want to.
Not recognising people I just met 2 days ago. It's so embarrassing and it's inconvenient.
I don't know, I kind of like me. A lot, actually.
Never really getting things done and having kind of almost grandiose ideas and and then as soon as I realise how much work it's going to be, kind of getting a bit bored and shifting attention to something else.
Rudeness.
Bad manners.
Weakness.
Lying.
Dishonesty.
Complete lack of interest in other people.
When people are lying.
Stupidity and arrogance.
Definitely laziness.
Hypocrisy, maybe, although second comes intolerance.
The inability to make a decision based on a small element of facts.
Meanness. So mean-spirited or tight-fisted, mean with money. Any sort of lack of goodwill.
Lack of grooming is a big bugbear for me, and BO is another big bugbear for me. Our cab driver who just dropped us off here at this glamorous location in Berlin, wherever we are, smelled like a shit brick house. I was ready to go.
Victims, namby-pamby victims who they just have that trait of everything is somebody else's fault or this has happened to them, and people that just don't realise they've got everything within themselves that they need to actually crack on with it and get on with it, and rather than just sucking the energy and everything out of other people, they could actually get on with it and do something about it. Fuck's sake.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clearly not.
Not really.
Monogamy, it's open.
Suits some people, like my parents, for example, but not me.
It's a nice idea. It works for some people, but not for me, unfortunately.
I believe in monogamy, but monogamy is quite difficult to put into practice.
I'm not even sure if it's a nice idea, but it's certainly worth a go, isn't it?
I don't believe in formulas. I think, what works for some people can be different than what works for other people.
No, definitely not. But if you believe in monogamy, you really have to have a strong belief.
I believe in monogamy in terms of being with one person, one singular person that you form a relationship with. But I don't think monogamy is the same thing as sexual monogamy.
Monogamy, it really depends on in which way it's meant. In relationship ways, I think it can happen, but you need a lot of work from both parties to make sure it does happen.
I think realistically it's not something that humans can manage, and I think temporary monogamy is possible, maybe for about 5 years or so, but then I think people just get bored and it doesn't happen. So really, as a lifestyle choice for a whole society, I don't think it's possible.
Sitting in a cold room on a typewriter and you've no money for coal, but you still carry on typing away because you know the finished and the creative product that you're doing gives you a massive warm glow, and that's love. That's the creative process is love.
To be very close with somebody, but not that you will take too much of this person, to let this person freedom.
Love is when someone wakes you up during the night screaming and asks you a stupid question, and that's what stops you from going and getting a frying pan and beating them to death.
Well, I read this on the toilet wall in a bar in Kreuzberg, but it said, true love is loving yourself first. And I thought that will do for an answer.
One of the types of love could be caring a lot for another person, regardless of what you can get from them.
Friendship, it's companionship, it's sexuality, and it's understanding.
I guess it's just giving a damn about someone and caring what would happen to them and wanting to intervene if you thought you could help them.
Love is a mental illness, but it's fabulous.
It depends who you're in love with and who the love is directed towards.
Love is bliss.
Forgiveness and acceptance.
The meaning of life.
No.
Yes, I do.
No.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, spiritually.
I'd like to, but I don't think I do.
It's a nice idea, but no, not really.
I'd like to believe there is life after death, but with that I just have to wait until the day I die to find out.
No, not at all. I don't believe in anything apart from the existence of molecules spinning around each other and creating something like life.
Both a Buddhist way, is coming back onto this earth again and again, and a spiritual way. So after you've come back to earth enough times, then you go off and you go to heaven, once you've completed all the tasks you need to.
Nothing.
None.
I don't think I would die for any cause.
I'll know it when I see it.
My family.
Maybe to save someone that I really love.
Probably love.
I think I would only be able to die for someone in my family.
Yeah. Love.
I would die for human rights if they were being abused on a mass scale.
I don't really know what cause I would die for. I suppose when you die, you're dying for a cause no matter what it is.
Well, there's only one cause that's really, really close to my heart, and that's to get Estee Lauder to reissue Pink Lady lipstick.
I don't think I'd die for any cause, but when I have to die, I hope I can accept it.
I die for my freedom, and I die for my very close friends, especially my children.
My dad taught me a thing when I was little. I dashed home and he had 3 wishes and I had to write 50 words on it. And I ran to my dad, he picked me up, I was like this high, and put me on the kitchen top. And I was like, right, I've got these 3 wishes. First wish, I want a Ferrari, then a mansion, and then for the 3rd wish, I want 3 more wishes. What do you think? My dad just took me there and he looked me straight in the eye. And he basically went, first wish, this is dead easy, just wish to be happy. Second wish, be healthy. And the 3rd wish, you can give to somebody else. And I think someone who can actually think like that has got perfect happiness.
Ancient Greece, it's just like fabulous. They were like discovering new things. They had fabulous sex lives, no sexual diseases, and they were sort of very open-minded and yeah.
I had what I thought was a period last night, but it was actually just the after effects of a good mobbing.
My favourite period in history will probably be the early Elizabethans. I'm not sure why.
The 1920s with all the bright young things.
Now's all right, but I think I have an affinity to the classical period.
It's the 20s in Berlin.
The present. We only live in the present.
Tomorrow, when I make it.
Definitely the Renaissance.
Maybe Renaissance.
The early 20th century.
The boring 20s.
The current.
Now.
In Berlin.
London.
Swaziland.
Western-super-Mare.
I think Sydney was a good choice.
A water birth at George's house.
Maybe in South America, yes, in Buenos Aires.
Maybe in Rio. Could be quite fun.
Where I was born, I'm quite proud to be from Lisbon.
Probably in some tribe in some jungle somewhere.
It's pretty irrelevant, really. It's where I'd like to live that's more important. I don't really care where I was born.
I'm quite pleased with where I was born. I love England, and London's pretty great, so I'm happy with having been born in London.
I'd have loved to be born in Brazil. Beautiful men, beautiful tan bodies, yeah.
I'd like to have been born in Ireland. All of my family are Irish, and some of my siblings were born in Ireland. It just so happens that my parents were in England when I was born. But it's just a little thing that I've always thought I'd like to have actually been born there, because I did a lot of growing up there. But it's interesting, all that growing up, but you're not actually from there. And because most of my family are, I feel a bit left out.
Here and now.
I hope this period is yet to come.
For the 3 years I was in School of Arts in Lisbon.
I was pretty happy the day I got married.
Today and in the recent past, and hopefully in the future.
In childhood, running around free, naked in the garden.
In very early childhood, I think, before you develop any kind of anxieties and worries about the world. Living in Ireland as a small child.
I think it's probably having a beer in 3 in the afternoon with good friends.
I'd say early childhood, before before you understand, before you feel pain other than physical pain?
I was happiest when I was 16 and I went to go to school in Somerset instead. I left home and it was really fun and lovely and beautiful.
I was happiest when I just started to come into myself more, and I'm still happy now in just the same degree as I'm coming into myself more and more each day.
I was definitely happiest just after I finished my A-levels, and the whole summer when we were 18 there was just no responsibilities, no idea of how boring and tedious life was going to be as an adult, and it was just pure unadulterated fun with a huge group of friends, and it was a really good summer too. So we just swam in the river, hung out in the parks, and just had so much fun. It was great.
I was quite young, and outside our village we found this little mini pond lake which had these trees around it, and me and a friend, we got these rubber dinghies, and we walked for like 2 miles from our place to where this thing was. We blew them up and we got in them, and this little pond was overhung by trees, and I just remember lying back in this thing, floating around with not a care in the world, very young at that point, and basically with the hands in the water just floating around with little things fluttering around. That was my probably happiest moment of my life. With hindsight, it was beautiful. I loved it.
I'd like to be able to sing.
I want to be a singer.
I wish I could play the piano.
The talent to make money.
Contortionism, how much fun would that be?
I would like to fly like a bird.
Wouldn't we all like to be innocent again?
I would love to be able to speak any language, even if I haven't been able to speak it, just on contact with that language.
I've probably got enough talents. The talent to actually figure out how to apply the talents that you've got is probably the talent that I really need. Definitely.
Wool.
Other people.
Stupidity.
Neurotic, paranoid, pregnant women.
Stupidity and lying.
When people are late.
If somebody does not respond at all.
Rudeness. I can't bear rudeness in other people. It really upsets me.
People who have no respect for others.
Being hungry and tired and things not being quite as they should be.
I really dislike lack of common sense on people.
When someone's interrupting you when you're trying to get on with something and you just want to be by yourself and get the job done. And yeah, if people keep on constantly stopping you. The person I work with, because she does that, she just keeps on interrupting me while I'm trying to get on with stuff.
Probably the guy I work with, actually.
Well, people that provoke me to a point that I get into a fight.
Probably my best friend Natalie is the person who's most able to wind me up.
Oh, I suppose I irritate myself more than anyone else does.
People that fuss about stuff.
Oh, my mother.
My mother?
Oh, fuck, that guy Saturday night, I wanted to kill him. This guy, yeah, he thought he knew me. He was like, oh, we'd already made friends and so on, but he was not aware, like I said before, not aware of people around him, yeah.
Princess who?
Pardon me, who?
I guess forever.
Oh, forever.
Forever.
Not long.
God. Unfortunately, I think forever.
She will certainly be remembered for as long as me and Gavin exist, as we met the night Diana died, and we have a party every year.
She'll be remembered every anniversary of her death, because that is the night I met my partner in a toilet in a nightclub. And yes, every year we pay homage to her and basically have a party. We used to have Dead Diana dues.
I never liked Princess Di.
It depends. As far as history books go, forever. But in the kind of public conscious and being regularly spoken about, I'd say about another 50 or 60 years, I'd say.
Ah, bloody Princess Diana, I couldn't care.
Well, to be honest, I forgot about her already.
But she was a historic hysteric, but I like to think we have a little party every year for ourselves, but fuck her.
I don't have anything interesting to say about her, so next question.
Ideally, I'm thinking, planning to retire when I'm 50, but I think I will never retire, because I always have to look after Gavin and do the things he doesn't want to do.
When I'm quite old and feeble and I'm not really able to work anymore.
I don't want to retire.
I think actually he was born retired, actually.
I am retired, it's perfect.
So I'd never like to retire. Ideally, I'd like to be a workaholic in something I thoroughly enjoy.
When I've achieved something, probably never.
I dress for dinner at 8, and then it's carriages at 12, and then I retire at 1.
If it's doing the job that I really want to do and that I really love, I'd like to work until I'm no longer able to. However, if it's the job that I don't choose to do, a career I don't particularly want to be involved in, as early as possible, as early as I can financially afford it.
Like, if I had a very good job, I'd like to retire around 60 to have enough money to last my old age.
I'd like to retire now if I could.
Soon.
Now?
Never.
The one that got away.
No regrets.
I don't think I really have any regrets.
Being 30 years old and not being working in my professional area and being paid for it.
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, one regret is having started smoking. And another one is probably not having worked as hard at school as I could have done and working to my full potential.
Not having embraced my full ego earlier.
I don't believe you should have regrets, as I believe in thinking positively. Any regret is any negative element to add to your life.
It's not bettering myself all the time. I always feel like I'm not bettering myself enough. That's my greatest regret.
Not looking after myself, injuries, like, it's funny when you do stuff and you kind of feel that kind of horse running wild on the plane kind of vibe, and you feel you're indestructible. You hurt yourself, and then when you get a bit older, you realise those little bumps and knocks when you're young end up being problems when you're older, and I've got a few bumps and knocks that I'm not really happy with.
Embarrassing for me or for the person?
Embarrassment is one of the virtues I most despise.
My most embarrassing moment probably being caught by my mother on one of my first partners.
You kind of have to take life more serious, I think, to be embarrassed by anything, because otherwise, I mean, it's just a moment, it doesn't mean anything.
I was at a free party and I went for a wee, and the police helicopter came over and had its searchlight on and picked me out of the field, and so everyone could see my arse because I was squatting having a piss. That was quite embarrassing, but kind of funny too.
One day I was walking down the street in Friedrichshain, it's quite a few years ago, maybe before kids, and there was this man walking past me laughing, and I didn't know why he was laughing, and then I realised I had my skirt tucked into my underpants and a sock hanging out. Something had gone wrong.
When I was 15, I was skateboarding at the time, and I'd met this girl that I really liked, and she arranged to meet me at this really awesome park in Weston-super-Mare, and I was careering down a hill at a vast speed, and she was stood there with her friend Tracy, and she was looking at me all like, wow, he's so cool. And I got speed wobbles on my skateboard, started to do that a bit. I thought, oh, better get off, I'm going to hurt myself. So I jumped on the grass and heroically rolled down the hill. As I stood up after rolling down the hill, I realised I'd rolled in dog shit, and it had completely covered me. on my stone-washed denim jeans was just a tide of just dog shit all up my back, all over my sort of, even onto my neck.
When I was 6, I stole a necklace from my mom to give it to this girl. And then my mom found out and they made me go to the girl and ask for the collar back and the necklace back. And that was extremely embarrassing. I couldn't believe I was asking for the necklace back because my mom was going to kind of like beat me up or something. It's extremely embarrassing. I'll never.
But we had a house guest staying, and he'd been out all night, and I was having sex with a partner and some other person, and suddenly the door opened, so we tidied everything away, and this guy went into the bedroom, and we were, oh, how was your night, to our house guest? And he was like, fine. He picked up a magazine and sat down with it. It was QX, the kind of gay London magazine. He was just flicking through it, and he flicked one page, and there was where I put the dirty condoms. So yeah, so he kind of opened it and went, oh, do these come free with every magazine?
So he went back to the girl's house. I had to put her mum's clothes on, and then I realised they didn't fit, so I had to skateboard home about 11 o'clock at night in my boxer shorts. The funniest thing was skating past the attendant in Tesco's car park and him saying, "Oh, you're into that California thing, yeah, mate? You look really like cool, laid back. I love the boardy shorts." Actually, they were my boxer shorts, so that's pretty embarrassing.
As a small child in Ireland, I was with a cousin of mine, and we were very badly stung around a wasp's nest, and we were stung from head to toe. And we obviously were in a lot of pain, and our parents brought us out into the yard near where we'd been stung, and they stripped all our clothes off, because we were covered in all these things, all these wasps. And we were stung everywhere. Every inch of our skin was stung really, really badly because we were so young we didn't know how to respond to all these wasps on us. So they took us out into the yard, and of course there were lots of other children playing, and they stripped us naked in the yard because they had no choice. They had to take our clothes off to remove all the wasps. So we were obviously in a lot of pain, and we were crying our eyes out while the rest of the children from the village just stood there laughing. So it was quite embarrassing and quite humiliating.
Next.
Modesty.
Shame.
Trust.
Listening to your boss.
I can't even think what the virtues are.
Vanity, definitely.
Chastity.
Chastity. I don't think anyone becomes more attractive because they're untouched.
I think compassion is the most overrated virtue because if you have it, you just have it. You don't need people to make a big fuss about it.
Can you overrate a virtue? Possibly. I think a virtue that's overplayed might be an overrated virtue, but otherwise virtues are all pretty good, if they're good.
Chastity, by far. I think it's absolutely absurd the way people, have this notion of chastity being, just a really noble sort of thing to do in relationships and stuff. It's absolutely a load of nonsense.
Sometimes it's politeness. It depends how politeness is done, but when politeness is kind of expected rather than taken as a bit of a bonus, when people get annoyed that there wasn't politeness rather than pleased that there is.
Sparkle.
Music.
Probably buying an expensive, flashy car that is expensive to run, and just because I like it. I can be extravagant once in a lifetime.
25 different bottles of moisturiser, probably.
When I'm going out in the nightlife somewhere in a big city.
Spending money on art.
My greatest extravagance is probably being selfish with my time.
My 50th birthday party was terribly extravagant.
Yeah, I understand.
Alcohol and cigarettes.
Maybe a time to seek my own company.
My greatest extravagance, probably liking finer things in life and shopping.
Wasting money on things that just have, when you've got nothing to show for it at the end. They're the things I like spending my money on most, is food going out and having fun. It's never things that stay, like clothes. They're always last on the list. So that's my greatest extravagance, is pissing money up the wall.
I bought a £180 pair of leather shoes with my first pay packet that rub my feet and are uncomfortable, but they look really good. That's probably my greatest extravagance.
Hello?
Wunderschön.
Mon Dieu.
Cock.
Ow.
Hope. In between lush and sensuality.
Sublime's quite good.
Gavin smell.
Either lavender or mimosa.
I think the smell of other people.
It's an ex-boyfriend's scent, and it just brings back really happy memories for me. That's my favourite smell.
It's Egoist from Chanel.
Cock.
Shit.
Lipstick.
I really like the smell of the sweat of the barman's balls.
Baking bread, which I can't eat.
I think the smell of sex.
My boyfriend's freshly washed arse.
The masculine smell of a hot male body wearing Jean-Paul Gaultier.
I don't think I really relax. That's not... when I relax, I'm dead.
Smoking loads and loads, copious amounts of weed, and having a massage like a couple of times a week.
By listening to Radio 4 and pottering around the kitchen.
And regular, treatments, spas, facials, all that kind of shit. And sex.
Reading and listening to Radio 4.
I don't. I can't. It's awful. I suppose the most relaxed I would ever be is asleep.
Lovely 10 milligram Valium.
I think I relax by doing nothing.
Being happy with the people next to me.
Alcohol and cannabis. Watching the news at 10.
A good drink, good movie, and good close friends and good conversation.
By doing pretty boring things like knitting and sewing and the crossword.
Listening to music or the radio.
Life is short.
Intelligence is overrated.
Smiling gets you everywhere.
If you like it, do it. If you don't like it, try it. You might like it.
To be happy with what you've got.
Everyone is one of a kind, and you can understand every kind if you want to. You don't need to be obnoxious. You can easily understand and be friends with everyone if you want to.
Avoid damaged women. As well, having trophies of women that you've conquered, but try and avoid the ones that are on murder trials, basically on parole, and are drug addicts, because you will get no value from that. In fact, whatever your mother tells you, believe it, it's true.
To be aware of stupid people with ulterior motives in their ideas about you. So to always be careful and look out for yourself as much as you can.
That time is a great healer.
Never disengage your brain.
Have fun. And that would be it.